Sage Wanderer here, and welcome to my new series, my 8-year YouTube journey. In this series, I want to pull the veil back and share the internal and invisible portion of my life on YouTube for the past 8 years. For new viewers, I think that they will find this interesting if they're potentially looking at YouTube for a job or a hobby. I think that new viewers will also find this interesting to give some backstory about how I got here. It's going to answer some questions like, how does this guy go from viral videos and over 30, at one point at 36,000 subscribers, down to just a handful of followers? What was that like? What was the driving force behind it? Was it by accident, by design? What's my strategy on YouTube? What am I doing here? Right? But I think for my longtime viewers have been with me since down in the van down by the river, those of you that have been here for the long haul have been on this journey with me, many of you. And but this is going to give you some kind of autobiographical information about what was going on behind the scenes, what my journey was actually like, the parts that you didn't see on camera. And I will start in this episode by giving you also kind of some biographical information that leads up to my decision to make the YouTube channel, what it was like to make my first video, and talk about my kind of meteoric rise to I guess you could say viral status. My most watched video is gonna eventually get to 1 million, I'm sure, but it's about 850,000. I'm not a huge YouTube channel, and I'm smaller now than I have ever been, but there was a moment when it just exploded, and I'll share with you what that was like. But before I get into the past of the channel, and I want to talk a little bit about the present. So, man, I feel good. I'm in a great mood. I'm ready to talk. I'm revived. I'm ready to get on with the next phase in this YouTube journey. And I want to take a moment to thank all of you who have been along with me on this journey. And most especially, I want to thank my financial supporters, because it's your financial support that's made this channel possible. It's allowed me to do an end run around the algorithm. It's allowed me to introduce kind of a new method for how one might get paid from YouTube. And for those of you who contributed this month, you do not know how desperate things were. Like, thank you. Thank you so much. There was one donation in particular that just pulled me right out of the fire. Like, I was about to get things shut off. And if you watch the channel, if you're a new viewer, you might be confused by this, but if you're a supporter and a watcher, you know that I kind of just went through a major deal, big deal. And it kind of ended a 2.5-year mission for me, because I do this on my channel, but then God always gives me missions in real life. And this was one of the most epic missions I've ever took on. And I'm relieved that, that it's kind of over, and I can look towards working harder for the channel, putting all my focus on what's going on here with y'all. And so I was experiencing a financial meltdown, right? And your kind donations this month allowed me to not just pay the bills, but get caught up on them, because I was behind on bills. And it's a good feeling. So thank you so much for helping me. I need your continued support. This is the only method I have for making a living, and I'm putting my whole heart and soul into it moving forward. So 8 years ago, I was living in a van down by the river. And my history up until that point was I went back and forth between being a professional musician, often touring, on the road a lot. And I would do that for a few years, and then I would stop and get a job at a church and preach or be part of the music ministry and make a living that way for a few years. And then I guess probably in my late 30s, I really just walked away from the music entirely, and I became a pastor and a preacher, and I had several positions. I guess my highest point was regional, three-state, tri-state youth director for a small denomination, and it was very grueling work, and it was long hours, and but I kind of founded it on these little powwow sessions that I would have with not just my students, but my leadership, the people that were volunteering with me. And I would sit in a chair and they would all just sit on the floor around me, Indian style. And I would like hold court. They would ask me questions. I would answer questions about religion, life, relationships, right? It was an odd situation. I called it holding court, and I got good at it, I realized I had a knack for this kind of more, not pulpit ministry, but more like almost one-on-one, small groups. And this, even after I left the ministry, I had a midlife crisis. My marriage broke up, and that's kind of the end of a preacher's ministry. When your marriage breaks up, they'll forgive you for a lot of stuff, but divorce is typically not one of them. Some push through it, but I chose to walk away, go back to the music business, went back on the road. And I had an epic midlife crisis. I've talked about it some on the channel. I lost my way in some ways, but I never stopped holding court. It's just the audience changed. I was still having people sit around me and listen to me talk. They would ask me questions. They would seek my advice. They want my opinion on things, or they just wanted me to tell them a story, Uncle Sage. And the audience changed, but the behavior really didn't. I eventually took a break from music for a while, or actually worked music and as a salesman for the Guitar Center Corporation. And I found myself being the oldest guy at work. I was like 17 years older, 16 years older than the regional manager, who they called the old man. So I was the really, really old man, and everybody just called me Uncle Sage, and I was the audio expert there. And I began to hold court at work. During lulls, during downtimes, all the young people would come to me for advice. And this is where I really picked up the Sage nickname, because they started saying, hey, go ask the Sage. If someone had a question, whether it was about audio or where to find something in the store, or some problem with customer, or something personal even, or advice about their band, or advice about their love life, they would be like, go see the Sage. Look, I don't know what to tell you, man. Just go see the Sage. And that's where the nickname really stuck. And after leaving the Guitar Center game, I went back into touring again. And this is where I kind of find myself looking at an upcoming divorce and a separation from the woman that had been in my life off and on since I was a boy. Honestly, we'd been together before I could shave. We'd split up, and I'd see other people, and I even married somebody else and got divorced, went back to her, married her a second time. And I was looking at the inevitable end of something that was wonderful, but just not going to ever really work for either one of us. And I was faced with, what to do with the rest of my life. And my kids said, Dad, you could probably make some kind of living out of just talking to people. Like, people love to hear you talk. Like, you can mesmerize people with your speech, and you tell the best stories, and you have all this wisdom. I mean, the people at the store all call you Sage already, right? You ought to start a YouTube channel. And so I gave it some thought, and I also wanted to share some biography. I've kind of given up on that. Like, some things about my life are better left untold, but I did want to leave a legacy, and I think I've accomplished that. I haven't checked in a while, but more than 1,200 videos, hundreds of hours of material over the past 8 years. And I've talked about everything, but I kind of stumbled into it. So my kids kept hounding me about starting a YouTube channel, and I watched YouTube, but I didn't understand anything about how it worked, and I was a bit technically challenged when it came to cell phones and, uploading things. And I never been involved in it before. And my kids set me up, got me going. And I'll never forget when I made my first video. My first video was a conspiracy theory video called Why Would Bill Hicks Become Alex Jones? And I look back on it now, it's so cringeworthy. I really didn't know what I was doing, right? But I jumped in with both feet. And if you don't know that conspiracy theory, it's rather silly. It's probably the first coffee talk, although I hadn't yet invented coffee talk. And but it was this theory that a 1980s and 90s, early 90s comedian who passed away mysteriously at a very young age at the precipice of his international fame, like he was about to blow up. He just had a HBO special and he just kicks the bucket, right? And then about the same time, right after that, Alex Jones, who in some way looks very much like almost a doppelganger of Bill Hicks, becomes this kind of online conspiracy theorist and anti-establishment, whistleblower. And a lot of the world thought that Bill Hicks had faked his own death and came back as Alex Jones. I think it's baloney, right? And part of it is I actually believe I brushed elbows. I bumped into Alex Jones very early when he was still a young boy. I'm a few years older than him. And at the time I had the #1 pop rock alternative band in Dallas, Fort Worth, and had a music awards and was on the radio. And we were offered this rotating guest host position where we could show our funny side on cable access. And we hosted Dallas Music Videos, a late night cable access show. And I believe at the same moment in time, Alex Jones was there at the same cable access production facility making his very first videos. And I do remember him. I remember him being a fan of the band Big Boss Groove, the band I was in at the time. And he would have been the right age to where he was probably coming up with fake IDs to sneak into places like Club Dada and in Deep Ellum in Dallas. And so I kind of think that Alex Jones appeared actually before Bill Hicks passed away. So there's no way they could be the same one. But that was my first ever video. But I do remember that part of the story that I don't talk about much, that you're thinking, hey, you left this out. Part of what I did as a minister was I was taught the ancient ritual of exorcism. And I had a lot of exorcisms under my belt. I felt like I had really give the devil a black eye. My time in ministry was extremely effective. That's why he took me out with that first divorce and stole my future from me. And it was payback for all the things that I'd done to fight the devil and his demons. And there's a whole story there. But after that, during my midlife life crisis, after I left the ministry, I kind of behaved like a person in witness relocation program. Like I ran and I stayed laid low and I stayed out of the public eye because I knew the devil was gunning for me. So when my kids encouraged me to go back into basically a form of the entertainment business again and put myself out there, put my face out there in the airwaves. We know the devil's the prince of air. He's the prince of the airwaves. So, I knew that my cover was blown. I knew that I was going to activate some kind of demonic backlash, that I was coming out of my shell again. And, after I made that first video, I woke up in the middle of the night in my van down by the river, and I sat straight up in bed, and I went, oh Lord, what have I done? I put myself out there. It's going to be a fight. This is going to be a big deal. And at first, I wasn't even aware if anybody was watching. I knew so little about YouTube. I just knew how to upload a video. So I was uploading like nobody was watching. And in a couple of videos, like I showed my true self and my real name. But I quickly became part of the Antifa movement, the Patriot Prayer movement in Portland. I was living near the Willamette River in Portland in this van, and I was surrounded by people that were what you would consider far left wing people, some of them activists. And when Donald Trump won that election in 2016, I saw demons take over all of these people. These people may have had their, everybody's got their own demons, but you know, the LGBTQ community, the anarchist type, the freedom loving left, right? It's hard to imagine that that existed, but it did. You know, there was that element where they were freedom minded, and in a lot of ways had a lot in common with patriots about some things, especially when it comes to stuff like free speech. But when Donald Trump got elected, I saw a transformation hit the Portland region, the Willamette Valley Basin, that can only be explained as a demonic wave. And it went over the entire leftist um, culture. And suddenly they became hateful and angry and militant. And people that would have never hurt a kitten are suddenly talking about, you know, how they can make things that go boom, how they can make things that burn stuff down, how they need to learn how to use the same armaments of the people on the right. And the Patriot Prayer movement, which was actually not, don't listen to them, it's not white supremacy. It's just a bunch of Christians who found they were getting shut down whenever they tried to pray in public in a park in Portland or anywhere in that area. That between the police and the people around them, they would be, and they weren't even preaching. They would just meet and hold hands in a circle and pray for their community, and they were being targeted. And so I got heavily involved in that. But I was talking about all kinds of things on my channel and not paying any attention to whether I was being seen or not. I didn't know how to find the view counter. I was running it through a PlayStation and watching on my TV. And I was uploading with my phone, but I was watching myself back and watching all the other YouTube creators through that method. And it didn't offer me comments. It didn't offer me likes or dislikes. It didn't offer me any intel as to how I was doing. And I just assumed nobody was watching, right? They say that when you're trying to break into YouTube, the hardest thing to do is to break that 1,000 subscriber mark, right? And then that allows you, at least that's the way it used to be. I don't know how it is now, but that allows you to be monetized. I didn't even know what monetized was. I didn't even know you could actually make money from YouTube. I was just expressing myself, right? And then I got an email from YouTube and it said, "Congratulations, you've reached 1,000 subscribers. You're now eligible for monetization." And I said, "What? 1,000 subscribers?" So I go running over to my to my ex's house where my son and daughter live, and I'm like, "Hey, what does this mean?" And they're like, "It means you have 1,000 subscribers." My son yelled across the room to my daughter's like, "Dad's got 1,000 subscribers." She throws down her homework, stands up and goes, "What? What? He's got 1,000 what?" And so they helped me understand it. And then they showed me that I had all of these comments. I had all of these likes and thumbs ups. I had 1,000 subscribers. My videos were getting 700, 800, 900 hits a video. And it was right out of the gate. And I had no idea this was going on. It was a total shock to me. I didn't understand how this system worked. And so then I started like taking it seriously, and I thought, wow, okay, so instead of just talking about like Bigfoot and stories from my life, maybe I should talk about some things that would be impactful. Like this is an opportunity to make a difference in this world. So I started making videos about Antifa, and they did fairly well. It caused me to have a riff with somebody that I knew, because unbeknownst to me, until I started talking about Antifa in a negative way, Antifa, if you're familiar with them from the other side, I was familiar with them from the inside. They call themselves Antifa or Antifa. And I did not have any idea that one of my close friends that I'd known for years was a member. And when she told me, it's somebody that I've called Evie. I won't share her actual name. I'm still kind of protecting people's identities. But she informed me she was a medic for Antifa, and they were going to take over the world, and they were going to get rid of all the Trump supporters. If they had to put them in prison or kill them, whatever they had to do, they were infiltrating the government, infiltrating every part of the civil service, that they were everywhere, that they ranged in age from old baby boomers to, new, millennials and Gen Zers even, who were very young at that time. And that these protests that I was seeing, they were part of them, and that they had an agenda. This is when I discovered that, the true violent nature of these people. And I told my friend Evie, I'm like, you're going to get yourself killed. Like, people are not going to, they're not going to let you do this, right? There's going to be a response from the right. And as a gun owner and a guy that's right of center politically, the center right, I'm telling you, you do not know what you're up against. It was a big deal. And then I guess one day I started to kind of, I had taken all the low-hanging fruit for video ideas. And I went through my past going, I wonder what people would find interesting about, any stories from my past. And that's when I remembered the woman who I would eventually identify as Svali, Svali. I knew her by her real name. She was a woman who went to the church where I was, at the time, youth pastor, right before I became regional youth director. And I was learning exorcism. I don't know that I performed my first one yet. Maybe I had. And I've told this story. It's called How I Met an MK Ultra Trainer. And I put so little thought into that. It was just off the cuff. It was like an 11-minute video. I think I did a quick one, and it got some attention. So the second one I did, it was called MK Ultra, the End Game, the long version. That's the video that made it to 850,000 views. And it had an incredible impact on the channel. And honestly, I didn't have a tripod or anything. I stuck my cell phone up on a kick drum, a bass kick drum mic stand, one of the little short mic stands for your kick drum, bass drum on the drum kit. And I had one of them throwing around, and I wedged my camera in it, and that's what I was using for a tripod. And I could only record outside because I never got enough light in Oregon in that camper van. So I went out, popped it up on the spare tire, on the back of the deal, and the camera angle was bad. It was just regular lighting. I didn't do any writing on it. I just told the whole story of meeting this woman who claimed to have been an MK Ultra trainer, a member of the Illuminati, and she claimed to be running for her life because she was being a targeted individual, and these people were trying to destroy her. And of course, many of you have seen the video. If you haven't, it's my #1 highest viewed video, and hopefully I'll outdo it someday, but I ain't holding my breath. And it was crazy for my phone, because my phone, every time I got a new subscriber, it'd go ding. Once I got it set up, it wasn't dinging, right? Or I would have known I had 1,000 subscribers. But after that, I set it up so it would ding. And it literally, I had to turn it off because it was like a slot machine. It was going ding, 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 ding. And I think immediately I went from like 1,100 subscribers to 6,000 just in the matter of a couple of days. Hang on, I'm going to wet my whistle. And so I guess the next thing that I stumbled across was I did a video about Antifa called something about the last chance for peace. Once again, I think it was Civil War, Last Chance for Peace. Bloody Civil War, Last Chance for Peace, something like that. I think it got 32 or 34,000. But they all came almost in the same day, because what had happened is this discussion about civil war in America had caught the attention of people in England. And The Guardian had done a piece where they embedded one of my videos as an example of Americans who are fearing and anticipating a eventual civil war in the country. And the click-through from that online Guardian piece out of England caused my subscribers to shoot up again. And I went from 6 to like 10,000. And that just happened in about 3 days. It was that ding, 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 sound like a slot machine. I had to turn it off. I'm like, and I would just sit and watch the subscriber numbers roll. I would just sit and watch the views roll like this. Like instead of, checking in, it's with this number, I'm going to check later, it's another number. I would sit and watch it roll like a slot machine. And once again, I was monetized. And I will say that I got some money from those viral videos. This was before before YouTube clamped down on, fringe channels, before they kicked Alex Jones off of YouTube. It was before they noticed us, right? Once they noticed us, the algorithm came for us. But before all that, it was fairly easy for me to get big videos and attention. I wrote a song as a musician and I put it on the channel. It was called George Soros is a Vampire, but I can't prove it. And it was just a cute little campy song, kind of built on Wayfaring Stranger, which is a classic folk song that has a really dark um, tone to it, right? And it was, I kind of compared him to a Sith Lord, right? Or a vampire, somebody who won't die. I mean, the chorus was, George Soros, why don't you die? It's because you're a vampire, and that's the reason why. And if you think about it, that was 8 years ago. That old crustacean is still breathing, as far as I can tell, and still pulling strings in this world. But he's from Hungary, and he's, I believe, an American citizen now, but he grew up in Hungary, and the people of Hungary hate him for what he has done politically, for who he was, how he came up, his collaboration with the Nazis in World War II. And so that song got picked up by radio in Hungary. And a Hungarian newspaper did a full page article and analyzed the song and compared it to what they knew about the person. And they were quite surprised that America was aware of who this guy was, because to them, he's a major villain. The people in Hungary don't like him. Like I don't know that he'd be welcome back there, right? And so I was completely unaware of this. For some reason, that video was taken off a little bit. The video was taken off a little bit, but my subscribers started going ding, 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 ding. And I'm like, what's hitting? And I looked at all the recent videos and I couldn't put it together. And one of my viewers sent me a link and they said, did you know that you're blowing up in Hungary? Look at this article. And it was written in Hungarian. So I had to download a translating video and find out, what it said, to translate it to English. And that's when I began to get other feedback from Hungary. And what had happened is, instead of linking into the video, because radio is still a big deal in Hungary, they had just pulled the audio off of YouTube and put it on some other format, and they were playing it on the radio in Hungary. And so I kind of got semi-famous in Hungary. I almost took an invitation to go there and perform and talk, because I kind of flashed up there. And so that didn't produce a lot of views, but it produced a ton of new subscribers. Excuse me. Here, I need to get some more. So that kind of describes maybe the first 6 months to year. And I got to where my videos were all getting 3,000 to 15,000 views, no matter what I did. Music got less because, hey, I was a child prodigy. I'm a pretty amazing musician to musicians, but there's a lot of great music out there, right? I'm one of many. But I really found my knack where I was able to apply this holding court thing, this kind of almost small group or one-on-one discussion and storytelling, and, mix that with my very well-honed skills as a preacher. Like I have a lot of preacher training. I am a multi-generational preacher. My 12-time great-grandfather founded Puritanism in America. He's one of the founders of Boston, Massachusetts. And my 10-time great-grandfather was Cotton Mathers, famous for his involvement in accidentally starting the Salem witch trials, right? He was Christ Church assistant pastor and then pastor after his father, his name escapes me, but after his father or father-in-law, no, it was his father, gave the church over to him. And so I have a lot of core preacher skills. I grew up listening to the very best preachers in the world. If you know my story, you know that my dad was a preacher and a outdoors guide. Like he was a fishing guide. So all of these world-class preachers would come out to the tiny little town we lived in on the Columbia River in Oregon, and they'd come out there to catch sturgeon and crappie and you know trout from mountain lakes and streams and steelhead and salmon and that kind of thing and deer hunt. And my dad had put him on it. It was a very good for his career. He was way more famous to other preachers than he was to people in general, right? And mainly because of this. But it gave me access to the world's very best preachers. And, I was never allowed to go to Sunday school and be a little kid because I'd try to take over because I knew too much. I was very precocious, child prodigy, child genius. And so I was put out in the main population, and I got to hear all of this preaching, both from my dad and the best preachers in the Church of God of Cleveland, Tennessee, rather, is the denomination, the Church of God. There's two of them, but the big one's the Southern one. It's the Pentecostal one, the oldest Pentecostal organization on the planet. 1896 is when they were founded, quite a few years before the events at Azusa Street. But nonetheless, I was able to apply my preacher skills, my music skills, my storytelling skills, and it was really, really working out for me. And then everything changed. And I'm going to tell the rest of that story next time in this series. We're going to kind of go year by year here. You're going to get at least 8 of these videos as I tell you what was going on in my life and what affected the channel, some of my strategies, things that I did, the way that I floated from topic to topic, and it looked kind of scattered, and how eventually I would start to find a flow. And then later on, about midway through this series, you'll see God step up and take over my channel. I just surrendered it to him, and that changed everything. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was entertaining and interesting. If it is, please become a supporter of the channel. I made a God-sponsored, God-determined decision to not participate in advertisement or to try to sell products for other people or use this as a commerce site, but rather God wanted me to adopt this as a free gift. My videos are a free gift to you. They don't cost you anything. However, if you're appreciative, if you like what I do, if you like me as a person, if you can get behind what I'm talking about, if you find me interesting or inspirational, please consider making a donation through the links in the description below. And we'll see you next time on my 8-year YouTube journey.